And we are live. Sorry, I have the playback on.
At some point, we're going to get used to not doing that. Well, what up, everybody? Welcome to the Black Book Summit 2022.
Yes, welcome.
We're going to give, as usual, we give that second for you guys to come in. But while we're in, what's up? How are y'all? Hey, Miss WC Reader.
Okay, I can see everything. We are clear on YouTube. Perfect.
Yay! So,
hi, everybody.
This is good. If you're here, go ahead and write it in the comments. Let us know you're here already. Also, if you hear us and we sound good, that's also a good thing to let us know in the comment section.
So welcome to this year's Black Book Summit 2022. It still feels weird saying 2022. Yeah. And we are so excited to be here. We're so excited to help to introduce this very first panel. But before we get started, just to allow some time for people to come in, we want to ask a popular question here on Black Prose, and that is, what are you currently doing instead of reading, if you are currently in a reading slump, which y'all know we don't believe in that word, but we can go into that later. Or what are you currently reading?
Yeah. Hey, and also to anybody who's new, what's up? Welcome to Black Prose Club. If you've never been here, we hope that you choose to stay.
Brittany, are you reading anything right now?
I actually just finished Akata Woman, and I am now reading Daughter of the Moon Goddess.
Nice. So you're doing pretty good.
I know. Like, I'm reading. It's really, like, I haven't stopped reading. I literally just went from one book to the next. I was like, I did, however, go to the bookstore to pick up Goliath, and there were no copies available.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find a physical copy of Goliath, and I have been trying to not support Amazon as much this year.
You know, I was like, I'm about to just go. We're just going to order it online from a bookstore.
Hey, Tati.
Miss WOC Reader said, I'm reading The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport and Ashes of Gold by JL.
Okay.
Stephanie says, The Stone Sky. All
nice.
Right.
I am in a weird place where I just get books from the library and then just look at the covers and then just hope that I can start reading them soon and then don't read them.
And then incur a bunch of library fees because you didn't take them back to the library like
no,
you were supposed to.
That I am not doing. I am actually just renewing them in hopes that I will read them soon.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's fine.
Well,
I think we've got everybody in, so I guess we should do our typical, intro.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So welcome, everybody. Everyone who's been here before and everyone who's new, we're so happy to have you. This is Black Prose Club, where Black lives, Black voices, Black stories, and Black books have always mattered. And we are your hosts. My name is Oshale of Oshi Reads.
My name is Brittany from Melanin Eclectic.
And it's not a reading slump, it's a pandemic. Black Book Summit panel number 1. We are so excited to introduce you to our moderator for today's panel and also our panelists, which we will allow them to introduce themselves however they choose. But our moderator for today is the lovely Isata of Dear Bee Love Me. Some of you may know, hey! Some of you may know her as a huge supporter of Black Prose and a personal friend of ours, and we are so happy and so excited to have her moderating this panel this year. And we're going to allow her to take over. Brittany, you have anything to add?
Nope, we'll be in the background if you need us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
My name is Isata, as stated before. I am the creator of the Dear Bee Love Me page, where I write letters to Bee. Bee could be my favorite author, Beverly Jenkins, a favorite romance author, that is. Bee could be me because my middle name is Bomshilla, which starts with a B. Bee could be book buddies. Bee could be the book itself. And I write letters. I film reels. I also had a page once upon a blue moon called Abominable Book Girl. And I am excited to be here. I will be introducing the panel. The first runner up is Bree from the page Bree's Bookish. Also, the creator of Be Too Weird, which is a book club where she discusses science fiction and comics and graphic novels that predominantly show Black people or people of color in general. Okay. And so basically, today is going to be a vibe of drinks, comfort clothes, and a bonnet because pandemic was a bonnet time. So for Brie, I got a Stella Rosa. Okay. Her page is very chill. Her covers are an aesthetic. Stella Rosa always sets everybody's mood. Okay. And it's in a glass because her page is very transparent. So that's Brie. Hey girl, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
I'm fantastic. Next, it will be Coco. Go to the page Coco Chasing Adventures, also known as Black Mom in the Burbs. Coco was one of the first pages I followed, actually. She always sets the vibe. She regularly used to open a curtain every morning and show a book cover or a quote, and she just gets the vibes going. She sets the mood. She teaches me things. I got a Celsius in honor of her because of her Black Mom in the Burbs page. She does a reset, a Sunday reset, a kitchen reset, and she does her fridge reset, which convinced me last Sunday to do mine because she wasn't going to come do it herself. And she's just really energetic, and she puts so much work into things, and you need Celsius to put work into anything.
Hi guys.
Finally, but not least important, is Brandon, not Brad, Brandon, also known as B Rad Books. He is the manager of Charm City Books. He is also the co-host of Between Two Succulents. Between Two Succulents, correct?
The host, yeah, of Between Two Succulents, yeah.
Yeah, Between Two Succulents. And I got a smoothie because Brandon's page is real smooth, okay? He did a reel, and I just knew he was going to twerk. I knew it was going to be popping because it was back that ASS up. I don't know if I can curse. There were books slow dancing with each other. There were books twerking. It was a great time. And it was just a very smooth transition. So a smoothie to Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
What's going on, everybody?
All right. So we are going to get started with a little icebreaker so we can all feel more at ease and comfortable. We're going to play Two Truths and a Lie. And Brandon is going to go first. Tell us your two truths and your lie, and we're going to figure out which one is which.
Okay, cool. So, two truths and a lie. I am a tourist. I am originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I have a cooking history that spans about 10 years.
Who wants to guess first?
He said a cooking history?
Of Ted, that spans.
Yeah, specifically working as a cook for about a decade.
How do you get specific about you? Real specific.
Kind of hard.
Because you got specific, it kind of threw me off.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not a Taurus.
We like being clear over here. No.
Or is it like because it's not been 10 years? Is it just like 5 years? I don't know.
That's a real specific.
I don't know. This is an SAT question almost for me.
Is that you're not a Taurus. That's gonna be my verdict.
I'll say it's the cooking then.
I'm gonna say Baltimore. I think he lives in Charm Cities. He lives there, but maybe he's not from there. I don't know. So I'm gonna go with that one.
Silences?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. All right. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. So, Coco got it. Yeah. Yeah. I am. I'm actually a double Taurus. Both my sun and my moon are in Taurus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I do. I do. You're right. Roughly 10 years because it's really like a little bit more than 9 as a cook until I left to pursue the literary space as a whole, i.e., starting at an independent bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
now, Bree, it's your turn.
Okay. I was published in 4th grade. I've never read Toni Morrison, and I have a Hello Kitty tattoo.
You've never read Toni Morrison.
I don't know, man. This is. I'm gonna judge you, and that's what I'm gonna. Oh, no matter which one, I'm gonna judge you.
You've never read Toni Morrison. I'm sticking to it.
I'm gonna go with that one too. I love Toni Morrison, obviously, but if you're into sci-fi, you might be a more Octavia Butler classic person.
I understand.
I know my logic went there from like the scanning or whatever, but like never. I don't know if I buy that. Not never. What was the third one again?
I have a Hello Kitty tattoo, and I was published in the 4th grade.
4th grade, yeah. I'm gonna go. It was like 3rd grade or something. Like you being humble right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the first one.
Those are you guys' final answers?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are so right. I have never read Toni Morrison, and I get shaded about this all the time.
I understand.
Yeah.
Especially if you're into like sci-fi fiction, it's not. Beloved might be the place where you would start. Honestly, if you are a person to sci-fi fantasy, start with Beloved because it deals in magical realism. So
I most definitely didn't read Toni Morrison until last year for the first time ever.
So I have every intention to read it. I just feel like I'm gonna need some of my like fellow weirdo book club members to like point me in the right direction and help me along because I'm a strong. If there's no magic or aliens in it, then it's gonna take a lot for me to get through.
Very fair. Okay, Coco, let's hear it.
Okay, I went to 4 different high schools. Okay, I am the first computer engineering graduate from my school, University of Florida. And I drink mostly tequila.
You don't drink mostly tequila.
Okay.
You mean when you're drinking, you're most likely drinking tequila, is what you mean?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
You give whiskey vibes almost. Like I almost buy it if it was whiskey. I'm gonna go with that.
The 99 to the 2000. No, I feel like if this was like 10 years ago, it would have been tequila, but I don't think you drink mostly. That's just And you looked up left. Somebody told me a long time ago that's signs of a lie, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I feel like she might have like a Let's Get Loco side and tequila.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What was the other options?
High school. Went to a lot of high schools.
I'm gonna say that one. It's gotta be that one.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
It's the University of Florida one. It was kind of weird. I meant to say another school, but I didn't think of it. I was the first computer engineering graduate of Bethune-Cookman College. I went to an HBCU. So that was really where that one. My father was in the service, so I went to lots of high schools. My favorite high school I'm a Lelehu Mule from Hawaii for all the people who are military brats. And I do drink lots of tequila. Like I drink wine, obviously, if you follow my vibes. I'm a champagne mixed with tequila person. Very dangerous combo.
Mixed? Okay.
You're about that.
I get a little saucy on the weekends. Who can I say?
Little rabble.
Okay. About that life. Okay, so author is Khalid Hosseini. I absolutely cannot stand Kindred by Octavia Butler. And I will argue with anybody who tells me or tries to convince me to read a Stephen King book.
It's gotta be
that favorite author. It's the favorite. Yeah.
Oh, my favorite author is Khalid Hosseini.
I think it's that one.
Same.
I'm gonna go with that one.
Y'all locked in? Y'all sure?
Yeah.
Did I change anything?
Yeah.
You feel confident?
No.
Yeah.
Because if you say something about I'm gonna have to.
I feel like it's either that one or Kindred, but I'm sticking with my first answer.
Yeah.
So the lie is, I will not argue with you about Stephen King. I just block you.
I just blocked you.
Yeah.
I won't argue. I'll just block
That's fair.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
you. Yes. You can judge me. I don't care. I've read that book 4 times.
No judgment.
Not for me.
No judgment. That is not my favorite one. You know what I'm saying? Like Parable of the Sword or, you know, something like that. That's more fledgling, those things.
I'll say I've gotten into some heated arguments about Kindred because I got strong opinions, so I'm here for it.
Ooh, okay. It's not
I
just
do love it, but I have strong opinions. I threw that book several times when reading it.
Yeah, I just hate. I don't want to. I'm not going to say any spoilers for people who've never read. I just don't like the. I love the way that they explore how you are fascinated and fetishize Black women. Like I feel like that's the element of the storyline there with the young boy. But I also just feel like it's it just seems so weird. I don't know. And I hate that. I mean, I don't want to ruin it, so I don't want to. But I have very strong opinions. If somebody want to argue with me in my DMs, check me out on Coco Chasing Adventures.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm in a book club. I'm in several, but I'm in a book club called Literary Savants. And the person who picked this book, I read. Keep in mind, I read this book 4 times, 4 different mediums, because sometimes reading the graphic novel gives you more depth.
Say that.
And I literally still had the same questions. And at one point, I was told this was insensitive, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't say it. I said, and you know what pisses me off the most? I can't even ask her because she died. And they said, why would you say that? I said, because it's true. And apparently nobody else thought to ask. I've watched interviews. Nobody else thought to ask the question that I had. But
anyway, what was the question? Now you gotta tell us the questions.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to understand, why was she time traveling?
Yeah.
So we're going to have a separate chat about this. Yeah. Because I don't want to give spoilers. But it's strongly leaning towards the questions that I have, but I don't want to give spoilers.
Yeah.
Exactly. We will have a private conversation about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we might as well just do a whole live, girl. Just make it.
I love it. I think we should do.
I am here. Yes.
I think we should do a versus. I think, like, I remember when Cree and Reggie and them did the versus. We should do a versus on if we choosing Kindred or not for the win. Like, there's some strong arguments about that's not her greatest. I will agree that's not her greatest work. That is definitely not her greatest work.
No, it's not. No.
That has been a topic that literally it gets our book club going, because it's literally all of them against me every single time, and I'll hold it down. It's fine. I'm good with that. So
the people want that live.
It's not a reading slump. It's a pandemic, which it still is. BT Dubs, just letting y'all know. Still a thing.
Yes.
Quick question. What were you reading in March of 2020, and when did you realize that 2020 is no longer here?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'm fine going first. All right. So, fun fact, I donated my kidney to my cousin in January of 2020. Wow. So, when all of this stuff started picking up, your girl had already been sheltering in place because I was at the house healing from that. Mm-hmm. So, I remember very specifically, I was reading the 5th season for the second time because it blew my mind. And I was like, I know I wasn't fully comprehending this the first time that I read it.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And in my opinion, 2020 still hasn't ended, period.
Okay. It's not just me.
We need a do-over.
We really do. What were you reading? Do you remember?
You said me? Sorry.
Yes, Brandon.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was. Preparing for a move. That went on a major halt, and I lost. I'm a freelance theater artist outside of this whole thing too. So I had like 4 gigs, 5 gigs lined up, all went away. And so I really needed a laugh, for lack of a better phrase. And I was staying uh, unofficially at the time where I'm currently at. And there was a copy of Yes Please by Amy Poehler. That's her memoir. I love to read comedians' work. So, I mean, I love, my friend had that on his shelf, but I mean, I love Lonnie Love's book, Jennifer Lewis's book, Issa Rae's book, Trevor Noah's book, like Seth Rogen's book. Like I love reading a good comedy memoir. And so yeah, that one definitely like kept the spirits high or whatever. And that was kind of probably my the beginning of like me kind of reconnecting to reading for fun as a whole. So I appreciated that. And for me, 2020 ended around about 11:59 on December 31st. I was ready to get
the hell out.
Yeah, I really was. So I was done with it. I was done. Yeah, I kissed it goodbye very, very, very easily. Very easily.
Fair. Coco, what about you?
So I had to actually open my Goodreads. I was like, I don't know what I was reading around that time, but during that time, I would tell you I was heavy on like reading, looking at my books. It's actually pretty dire if I showed you what it was during that time. I was reading a lot of like apocalyptic books. It's like I got into that mood in March.
One of them.
Yes, I read The Good Luck Girls, which is by Charlotte Nicole Davis, which it was kind of apocalyptic and it follows these women through like escapism. I really enjoyed that book. I read Nora Roberts' Year One, which talks about a world after an apocalypse and on the political systems. And I read that like the series, and then that's when I really was getting into like Talia Hibbert. So I was reading a lot of romance at that time too.
You see,
so I don't know, it's like a crazy mix of apocalyptic literature and romance. I don't know.
Romance is always, that's why I have a very hard time focusing on serious literature when there's a lot going on, because I'm such like an overthinker and I'm extra critical. You're not about to hurt my feelings when my feelings are already hurt. I do that to myself when I'm prepared.
Yes.
Mother Nature don't make that call for me. Pandemic.
So when did 2020 end for me? I mean, I had made a commitment that I wasn't going to make 2021 like 2020. And I made that same commitment this year. So I'm kind of like with Brandon, December 31st. But I will say there are certain aspects that I carried with me, and that is deciding that balance is the most important thing for me. And I'm going to choose balance over, like, family, and balance is going to come number one. So that I carried from 2020.
Well, at least you still carry parts of it. See, for me, I feel like 2020, as in the tomfoolery, is still in progress. And every day, it's something. And so that just sticks with me. As far as what I'm reading, as I stated before, I escape reality. So it's weird. When I'm personally going through trauma, I read every traumatizing piece of literature I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, if something hurts, I press on it type of people to just make this make sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
However, when things like, oh, everybody's shutting down, first of all, my happy place. Second of all, okay, well, I can't read things that are about apocalypse because that's scary. So I read Monstrous, which low-key was about an apocalypse of sorts. I read Monstrous Volume 1. I read a bunch of Penelope Douglas. That's dark romance, and she's my fave dark romance writer.
Well, I'm about to say that's spicy. That's not just dark.
Listen, that's as dark as it gets. It's a dark romance mood. But when it comes to reading, as far as the reading was concerned, were you able to like read your most in 2020, like when everything was shut down during the shutdown period, or did you ease back on reading? Brandon.
I mean, I've definitely like reconnected with reading, so I think I would say that I kind of read the most during that time because I was just kind of picking up things left and right, like trying to figure out what my genre was, trying to figure out me as a reader, essentially. So I definitely read more, I would say.
What about you, Brianna? You about to say?
Oh, I for sure read more. I like got all the way into it. That was like peak at the point where I was like desperately searching for Black sci-fi fantasy authors anywhere I could get it. Like my library literally like tripled during the course of that time because I was just like, I'm just gonna focus all of this extra nervous energy that I have into finding more Black or QT BIPOC sci-fi fantasy. And that's when I started the book club. And I feel like having that like network of virtual people in my Be Too Weird book club to like reach out to and have access to at all times really was like a great support system. And you would catch people, like we have a Discord now, but the ways we had to communicate with all of us before were kind of weird. But yeah, you would catch people at like random hours, like freaking out in the chat about whatever they were reading. And then it's like, oh shoot, is that good? Let me add that to my list or whatever. And it's still kind of like that. But that was like when all of that was reaching its peak of like, yeah, we're all isolated, but we have access to each other all the time and we're all nerding out with each other. So I definitely read like way more.
What about you, Coco?
So I think I talked more about even though I was already like blogging, I probably talked more about the books I was reading. I read more nonfiction during the quarantine. Okay. I enjoy nonfiction, but I didn't read as much nonfiction. Really, and I'm really just talking about this. It was very specific. It wasn't just the pandemic that was happening. It was also like this major race relation discussion that was ongoing. And of course, I'm in the Baltimore area, so we have it's like very rich with a lot of that discussion. So I got really into reading like Ibram X. Kendi and like any books like that. I reread Stamp last year. If you guys remember, that was like one of the biggest readathons that we had. Yeah. I read a lot of Jesse. Like so I would say that what I was reading probably changed during the pandemic. Again, apocalyptic romance and some nonfiction, which I am a sci-fi fantasy person. My reading log was mostly filled with girl. If it has a vampire, a werewolf, or a fairy, I'm reading it. I've read it. I'm gonna read it again. If you add romance to any of those things, I'm definitely gonna read it. I'm a computer engineer, so I'm super geeky. So anything associated with that, I was reading more of that beforehand. And some part of me wanted to connect to the experiences I was having, and so maybe my taste changed. I still read a lot of fantasy though. Don't get it. I'm definitely into the face smut. So
I will say, because Brie just said something about the library tripling, as in personal library or as in public library, or as both?
As for sure, my personal library. My public library is garbage, a la poo. Okay, the majority of the authors of color that they have are because I harassed that woman that works over there. Like, why don't you have this? It's like a bestseller. Why is this not available for me to get? So my public library locally is not that great. My personal library, however, I was like one of those people who was filling the empty space amidst the pandemic by shopping online. Yes. So your girl's personal library tripled, and I was buying like a lot of skincare and makeup type things, and was just like, how can I make myself feel better? How can I cater to myself in this time, since we had to like sit with ourselves? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just up my skincare game and read everything I can get my hands on.
Honestly. Excuse me. Because I feel like at that time there was just so much. I remember right before then, there were all these articles and things about the book business going down in bookstore apparel. And it was so interesting because at the time on my old page, Abominable Book Girl, it's like, I'm like, but I'm in this space and everybody reads. So what are y'all talking about? Like, we alone can keep the book business going. Because like, this was the time, before people canceled Book Outlet and then uncanceled it silently. Where they were all buying, like, I was getting the boxes, okay? And they had my money. Amazon at this time had my money. Thrift Books had my money. Half Price Online had my money. I didn't have no money, but they had it. I had a lot of books.
Right.
I had a lot of books though. So I was like, I think that changed a lot during the pandemic because now that we had to sit down and so you were talking about everything that was happening as far as race relations. When you don't have nothing to do, it's kind of like when you grow up with siblings and y'all are just gonna fight because you literally have nothing to do. So it's almost like, okay, well, we're all stuck at home. So let's talk about the way you treat Black people. Can we do that now? Because you're at home. So let's just bring this out there. And then Melanated Reader and Pages Galore and Coco and who else was in charge of the whole
so many people.
There were a lot of
it's Cree Miles.
Cree, Jared.
Jared was there.
A lot of people came up with the whole stand from the beginning. And when I tell you, that was my one nonfiction for the year, and I was livid.
Mm-hmm.
For the whole, I think I went on several tangents about Socrates and how I never want to learn about him again. I want to see nothing about him. I don't care. He could tell somebody else because he's not telling me. And I feel like that time was just, even though we didn't read a lot, I feel like we had more time to read in depth. That's actually how I started reading more in depth. So the pandemic, even if some read more, some read less, did you find yourself reading more deeply into things or just like, this one's done next?
I definitely did. Like, I never was a person who wrote in their book or like took notes, and I probably did that more. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I was kind of who tried to like keep.
I'm sorry.
I really even like Goodreads, right? Like or Storygraph, either one. I was not. I just kind of like logged it before. Now I was just like, okay, let me highlight in the Kindle, let me bookmark it on the, and then I'll refer back to it. If you even really look, if you go back and scroll through my page, you would see like from like March to the August timeframe, I wrote more deeply in my book reviews. So I definitely got more into it, and I probably fantasized more, like again, sci-fi fantasy. I was like looking up the fan art and walking around, by like cosplaying for my picture. Like I was really.
Wait, which fandom was this
wrong,
specifically?
but I was really
for?
into it then.
Which fandom was this for specifically?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, we can talk about. Well, okay. Don't talk about me. I'm a Sarah J. Maas fan. I know people are going to judge me, but I was really into that. The Good Luck Girls, I was really into when that first started. What was the other fandom that I was really into at that time? Octavia Butler. Like I was just walking around, just like seeing all her quotes and and really believing the world's gonna be over. So like that, like in my mind, like if you ask my husband, I went through this thing where I wanted to learn how to make like butter and bread and everything from scratch and keep like like I'm crazy. But anyway,
our girl was preparing for the end of the world.
Yes,
exactly. She's like, if they're not gonna have this in the stores, I need to know how to make it for myself.
I asked my husband, I was like, I don't want to be a person that's over there looking for the bread down the aisle. I really did. I made my own. I was already a biscuit maker because I'm a Southern guy. I can cook a biscuit, but I really got into it. I came up with all the tricks and everything. Like I was really into it.
I'm very proud of you for learning to do things. Because me, I ain't learned a damn thing. I was just reading smut and then reading books that made me angry and then going back to smut and then going back to that book and then going back to graphic novels. I was
graphic novels.
I'm ashamed. Do not look at my Kindle Unlimited because I'm like I've never. It's like looking at I guess what boys say, don't look at your internet history. You cannot look at my Kindle Unlimited. So
if we're being real about it, you can't look at anybody's Kindle Unlimited because you just be like, this is free. Get into all this wild shit. Let's do it.
Cousin, my Kindle Unlimited, she had my phone. She was looking because she was trying to find a book that she wanted to read. She goes, what is this? And then she clicks, and I was like, give me my phone. Well, if she found an adult website, then she found the things that not that I'm ashamed of them, it's just I don't want her to read them too.
Yeah.
She's way younger than me.
Yes.
That's fair. Find your own smut.
You're right.
You gotta work hard like we had to work hard. I had to find pepper paste on my own. You do the same. We we're good.
Wild.
Another
I'll
question.
say, as far as reading more deeply, having like a whole community of people to like talk to about these books a lot of the times makes you like reflect heavily on it and then even go back and read more. And again, y'all will hear me talk about this throughout this whole conversation. My book club Be Too Weird legit saved me amidst the pandemic, because it's like this family of weirdos. They're all bookish, they all understand, and we would have some wild conversations about like the most random things, like magic systems and world building and all of that. So definitely, before I would just kind of like get through the story and have like my key points that stick out in my mind, whereas with them it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Let me backtrack and appreciate that for what it was. So for sure.
That's something that I don't think we think too deeply on. Brad, are you also a fan? Brandon, sorry, Erad, Brandon, are you also a fan of fantasy?
Fan, yeah. Experience, no. I am, the backlist is massive, y'all, just so you know. But no, I just wrapped up recently. I think going back before that, I think what got me hooked was the parable duology, I guess officially. Um, I loved Parable of the Sower, but then Talents was like, oh, I need to be reading more sci-fi in the midst, because I personally am a very heavy nonfiction reader. I stay in the social justice space, reformative justice space often. I love American history specifically through the lens of people that look like us. I'm always absorbing that content. Again, memoirs. I love memoirs. I found Jesmyn Ward during that time because of Memory Reads, and she's one of my favorite authors, like top five. I read a lot of nonfiction, so trying to shake it up a bit. I was like, well, let me try around some more with the fantasy space, and so I read like a few things. It's more like I read P. Jelly Clark, Master of Jen, but I read Ring Shout before then, which is Ring Shout is not technically, I guess it goes for horror or whatever, but it's like I'm ravenous for that book. I love it so much. Like it's. But recently, I finished my first pass at fifth season, and I think Bree, you hit it on the head when you said that first pass. I miss shit. Like I have to, like I my aim, like I definitely am. Argue with your mom if you want, because I'm not interested. I definitely write. I definitely highlight. I definitely underline. I definitely bracket. I definitely parentheses. I do it all in my books. A dog tag is mine. I'm a jacket up how I want. And that was one of those books. Like my copy is ridiculous. My copy is kind of ridiculous because I'm like, there's just so much here. Like I have to come back to it before I go on to Obelisk. And then I'm about halfway through Marlon James, Black Leopard, Red Wolf, which is I'm only halfway through it. I'm still trying to find the words to describe that damn book. Like it is
wild.
Wild. It is wild.
The second book is out now, right? Or is it coming out?
Yeah.
It comes out on the 15th, I think.
Yeah. So it's officially released. I have the arc that I haven't gotten to yet, but so it'll be released before I can read it or whatever. But it's coming very shortly. So I'm definitely new to the space, but I am enjoying my time thus far.
I'm glad you can, because I feel like now, being in the pandemic, even though I notice some people read more, like I'm in a season of reading more, some people read less, because as readers, I don't even think it's like a slump. It's just sometimes you want to do other shit. Like, and that's fine. We're not tethered to our books like we would like to be, but sometimes you just have to do other things. But I feel like because of the pandemic, I've been so much more emotionally attuned to what I'm reading. When I tell y'all, there was a read along last summer, and to this day, to this day, I cannot go through a day without saying Bam Bam in my head. Because let me tell y'all, um, Melanated Reader and Pages Galore made us read A Brief History of Seven Killings. I was emotionally invested and I was a wreck. That was the one time ever. I've never listened to an audiobook at the gym because I need to be focused.
Yeah.
There was a scene that was coming that I waited for the entirety of that book. It's very reminiscent of Twilight and how I was let down because there was a scene that I waited for the entirety of that series that didn't happen. It's fine. So I waited for this series. I'm waiting for this ending to happen the way, because I just know, okay? You know when you just know this person's going to get everything they deserve.
Yeah.
Can't get nothing. Nothing. Nothing happened. And I was hurt. I'm still hurt.
Hi, Danny.
And so I was just wondering if anybody else was finding themselves more emotionally invested in what they're reading.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. You made a comment about like being more emotionally aware, and then it maybe not turning into a slump. I feel like we all had to sit with our feelings so much that it was like, okay, as readers, we tend to read as a comfort or something like that. So whereas I may have been reading more of one thing, if I felt myself slumping, it's like, all right, I know that there's nothing else right now, so I'll transition to audiobooks, or it's easier for me to hop on the graphic novel train right now. That's how you know I'm slumping. If I'm like, yeah, it's all comics and audio for me right now. So I'm still reading. It's just not anything like super in depth, if that makes sense. And then you just transition. It'll be like, I need something light and fluffy to boost me up. Right. And then I'll go into whatever the next thing is.
So when you're going through it, you just do a palate cleanser. What do you guys do? Because I resort to trash TV because I'm 100% here for Basketball Wives, and it's gone now, but that was my go-to. And now I think it's what is it? Love is Blind. It's bad.
Yeah. I am heavy into the reality TV scene. Like I even shout out to the probably few of us that checked out Jocelyn's Cabaret. I'm kind of obsessed. It's really, the Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? Listen. You know, it's the Puerto Rican princess is top tier television. Honestly, like I love. I mean, the Housewives. I love a competition show, reality show of any kind. Like everything from like Survivor to, Love is Blind, and all that. Like I love reality TV so much, and so yeah, that's definitely my palate cleanser. If I'm like, I need to watch something meaningless, so I definitely just put that on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say popularly for me, like, of course, like anything that's popular for Netflix binging. But I want to be honest, the two things I do when I need to take a break, someone said when I'm in a slump, I switch genres. I do that. If I'm reading too much romance, I switch to nonfiction. I do that. I'm heavy on the TikTok. Like I'm up at 3:00 in the morning laughing at whatever is on TikTok. That is usually my go-to way to get away from something. And if you follow a good person on TikTok, they will have like a whole series of something. And I would just binge that series of something. If someone says, what are the 4 facts that you didn't know about bread making? I'm watching all 4 sections.
All 4 sections.
I'm watching them all, and then I'm gonna go on YouTube and research them, and then I'm gonna go in the kitchen and say, Donald, I bought this from Amazon because TikTok told me this is how I make better bread, and then I made Donald try it, record it, and it let me tell you, that's my thing. TikTok heavy.
Yes, Bob's Burgers. My weirdos are in the chat and they are going off. One of them said cooking shows. One of them said cooking shows. I need y'all to know that I watched every of those, like Master Chef Junior is the cutest thing in the world. Okay? All of those. I said Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers is lit. I watch way too much
Yeah.
Bob's
With
Burgers.
Tina.
That's
Tina
like one of
and
those
Oh, there's no
things
such
you
thing.
can put on in the back and just
Yeah,
regardless of
yeah.
the recipe.
There's no such thing as too much Bob's Burgers. Yeah. And no, I told y'all I got the cook background, and I just feel it. So I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, very confident, and yet I feel like a 10-year-old could show me up so easily, and like that's why I love that show. Like it's Match Up Junior specifically is
Yes.
it's humbling. It's so good. Yeah.
For me, it's not even that. It's just watching these little people say words that I don't know. And it's relating to cooking. Not that I can't cook, it's just that I don't use terminologies. I just kind of am very African with it, and I just put things and I don't measure things. And I'm like, tastes good. So when I see them like dicing accurately, I'm like, oh, so your mom taught you that? And I look at my mom like, so you just wasn't going? Like, what we doing today?
But listen, I just want you to hear the humble brag for Brandon. He was like, I know what I'm doing in the kitchen. I'm like, all right, I see. He was like, I know what I'm doing in the kitchen. I'm just saying. So, so this is what I want from you for my TikTok special. You're going to have to do a series over this recipe reminds me of this book. Like, I want a whole series over your best recipes and best book recommendation that complements it. I feel like
I'm gonna watch all of that.
I need to binge something really interesting like that.
See?
Okay. Well,
I got invested was when you, Coco, you did that with your Bama Rush mess, and I ended up invested, and I invested.
Nah, I'm still sad about the Bama Rush. I'm still sad about the Bama Rush.
YouTube made me invested. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
But Brandon, I need the series from you though.
no, I got you. The thing is, because I used to I think maybe my first like shout out came from Nia J, Pages Galore. Because yeah. She well it's been in the reworks or whatever because at the store different responsibilities, shifting life, da 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 da. I there's this series called Tiny Tidbits. I think it's in the highlights. I create, write, direct, and host this short form comedy documentary series that highlights the Baltimore community, specifically in the restaurant scene, and it's driven through the lens of whatever cookbook that I've come across that I've enjoyed. So thus far, the only two mixtape Potluck by Questlove, and then Michael Twitty's The Cooking Gene. And that's all on my page. Y'all can check out or whatever. It's going to be coming back. So I got you.
Right, make sure it's in time for the summer. I'm looking for all the barbecue recipes. I'm looking for all the fun things for the summer. Like, I'm gonna hold you accountable. I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Please do. No, please do. Yeah.
You know what you should do though? You should be like, this recipe is like the vibes of this bookstagrammer, and then you'll have everybody resharing your stuff. Like everybody would reach it. I guarantee you that would be very popular, just long as you run that credit when you do it.
Yes.
Right, of course, always.
Warm and sweet. That's what I want.
There you go.
Like cinnamon rolls.
I definitely like book to bowl, need to read, and there's a few other bookstagrammers that are like doing the food thing, and like, I was like, I'm always looking as a creative by profession. I'm always looking to shake it up or whatever. And like a couple, like there are, this is just lighting the fire under my ass, like better phrase, because I got a few ideas and I got some stuff cooking, pun intended. For real.
I got some stuff cooking today. That's your intro line. I got some stuff cooking today.
Already,
let me go on the team.
Not to take the incubator on here now. All right.
The work has already been set. All you got to do is do it. And also, please, because I'm not getting on TikTok. I'm gonna lie. Y'all not gonna get me. I'm not going.
It'll be on IG. I promise. I'm glad. Yeah, that's cool. It's coming. I promise. More is coming. For sure.
Has anybody gotten into like a new hobby that assists their reading? Because I started planning more during the pandemic. Like I used to get the always fully booked planners from Little Inklings Read.
Yeah, Little Inkling Design.
So
I got the same.
I've been getting them since 2019. 2019 barely used it because I wasn't really a planner. 2020, let me tell you, for somebody who wasn't busy, my planner was lit. 2021, it was dry. There was a lot going on. 2022 barely started. It's amazing. So have you done anything that to distract you from this, whether it's coloring or anything?
I listen because I've been listening to so many audiobooks. I paint while I'm listening to audiobooks. You get you a glass of wine, get you some cheap canvases from Michael's. I got a couple paint kits, and y'all judge your mother, but I paint aliens while I'm listening to audiobooks. What'd you say?
Can we see? Do you have any?
I do, but I don't know. That's very they're not good. That's the thing. They're not good by any standard. They just bring me joy. Y'all still want to see it anyway?
Yes, definitely.
Oh God.
It's all about. Someone said Black joy is amazing. Yeah, I just want to see things that bring happiness to people.
Honestly, you should also just put this because we like to see you happy. Mm-hmm. We like to see you in your happy place. You're right, because Melanin Eclectic does have a reading planner, which is amazing and fantastic. And I get all my stickers from her.
Yes. I have to check that out now.
Yeah.
She also has really cute washi tape. And she also has this thing, because you're into fitness, she has the stickers where you measure your things. And I got 3 of them. And she has this really cute journal too, because I started journaling. It's really cool.
I think the thing while we're waiting on her, the thing that I probably got into that I wasn't into before was the vlog. Most of my blogging was specifically about my books and about my life as it relates to the books. But now I'm sort of blogging about my personal life. I'm still very scared, honestly. I'm just kind of a private person in that way. But someone said that you should not only create but document.
Yes.
So right now, my TikTok and my other blog are more about me documenting my life and not creating Instagram. So that's my new thing, is documenting pieces, special moments in my life.
I think that's a good idea. And it makes for really, really nice reels. Again, Black mom in the burbs. It makes for really amazing reels because I see you move them also into Cocoa Chasing Adventures. And I'm like, that's smart. I wouldn't have thought about that. Don't be scared.
Yes.
Hey,
girl.
Boy.
And I have a fairy that I haven't finished.
Okay, so I want that one.
I love that.
Dirty Shame.
What?
Low Down Dirty Shame with Peaches. The Wayans, I don't know which Wayans it was, but Low Down Dirty Shame by one of the Wayans. It reminds me of Peaches. Peaches was
I'm I want them to still look like they got some flavor, like they might be Black, but also alien.
Yeah, no, the first one
makes no sense, no logic, but it's something to do with your hands while you're listening to your audiobook.
It most definitely makes a whole lot of sense, and they look really amazing.
They look really good.
I don't know why you out here talking about good. They are very amazing. You should showcase them more. I'm just saying, you should definitely for a couple bucks at Michael's, you do some good work. Say. So
yeah, get into painting. Very chill.
That's not something I thought about. We have cooking, we have painting, documentation. What else do we have? Because for me, I know sticker buying has been a thing. Like I said, Melanin Eclectic has a lot of my money. Michael's has people take my money, and I know I'm the one giving it to them. I get it, but also they could give it back.
Right.
They could give it back.
If we're doing that, shout out to Sephora, because y'all got a lot of my money during the pandemic too. I know y'all. The book looks are another thing I can do while I'm listening to my audiobook.
Yes.
Oh, see, okay, can we discuss that? Because actually, you're very good at book looks. Coco is very good at book aesthetic. Her aesthetic feels like the book, which I don't know how to explain that, but it's a thing. How do y'all come up? How does this come up? I just want to know because I'm not that creative.
Do you want to? Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
How I collect books, I also collect eyeshadow palettes. It's pretty bad. But normally it'll just be like, oh, these are some fun colors. And if I get like a new book and it looks like some colors I would never wear on my own, that makes me want to challenge myself to do a look that corresponds with those colors. So it'll just end up being some wild stuff. And it's like, I would not leave the house like this, but it matches the book. So we're going to rock with it.
Why wouldn't you leave the house like that?
I mean, so I'm also a festival enthusiast. So like if I'm going somewhere like a music festival or something, then it's like, oh, sky's the limit, whatever, just live your best life. But for the most part, it's like, how can I incorporate these in a way that I wouldn't typically wear, just so that I'm trying something different artistically.
Oh wow. You stopped by because of the pandemic? Wow, Brittany.
No, the pandemic definitely made me be like, oh, you know who's got a new eyeshadow palette coming out next week? Let me rub my coins together for that.
Yes. I can relate because you don't feel like you have anywhere to go. So what you getting cute for? Yourself, girl, yourself. What?
Yeah, that's how you perfect your craft. Like I feel like if you're not going anywhere, then you're like, you know, this really could come out looking like shit, and it don't matter because I don't have nowhere to be. So you just take your time and practice and learn more about it.
Oh, Miss Awesome Saucy, I'm sorry. Coco, what about you? How do you set your vibe?
Well, I like going back to that cosplay type thing. So every time I read a book, I basically change personalities. You know, whatever the main character is, I become the main character. It's dangerous, but so usually by the time I take the picture, so I'll give you a little hint. Tomorrow is my turn on the Black Girl Bookstore.
Yes.
And so my book is going to be 1619. So check back for my review on that. But in my mind, I became an academic. I basically become Nicole Hannah-Jones. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's really, so my aesthetic is really based upon how I felt during the book. So when I read Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo by Ntozake Shange, I feel very aloof and free and, you know, deep and start speaking in poetry. So like the pictures around that were mostly about flowers because that's how I felt. Yeah. So basically it's because I think I'm the main character. I become the main character.
So one moment. The Black Girl Bookstore is hosted by Jamise. I don't know Jamise's last name.
Vines
and Vines is her page. She is the starter of the diverse spines hashtag. She is also the co-author, the author, and she's the author of Diverse Spines, the bibliophile book. There's also a journal, y'all. I'm gonna get the journal. And she hosted it in order to showcase the Black women in literature. And other Black women are also assisting in the Black Girl Bookstore. It's similar to melanated readers hashtag 20 books by Black women. Read along.
But just to give a little more detail, it's awesome because the Black Girl Bookstore is also highlighting Black women bookstagrammers, so that way you get an opportunity to follow new people in this space. And there are 3 different people posting each day about highlighting Black women authors. So it's a really awesome space. I want to say this is the 3rd year, but I don't want to lie. But I remember desperately wanting to be a part of it last year. So I was really excited for the opportunity to be on it this year. Every year I follow every single person on the tour, and it's always so enriching for my feed because there's like some really awesome Black women bookstagrammers out there. And because we all kind of end up in our own little niche pockets, we may miss each other, but I feel like this is a great space to open that up and find new amazing Black women bookstagrammers to follow, and then also stack up on your TBR with Black authors that you otherwise wouldn't experience. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already.
Oh, Danzy Books. Yes, Danielle.
Yay! Danielle, we had the same post date on the 10th. So run that back.
Mine was the 6th. Oh, I will tell y'all a funny story when it comes to networking. So when we were going through to prepare for this, I was going through stalking everyone's pages. I already know Courtney's page and Brandon from a book giveaway that I didn't win, but it's okay. I bought the book because I have a problem. Um, so I was looking through Ree's page and I'm like, this girl's face looks really familiar. I know her. And I'm going through and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna ask her because for those of you who don't know me, I usually don't mind minding people's business. I do let you know that I'm about to mind your business most, so you know. And I was like, hey, are you from Houston? And she's like, how you know me?
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm not saying I do know you. I'm just saying you look like somebody I know, and I went to high school with her. She goes, yeah, that's me. And then she said the high school. I was like, oh my god, it is you. Because what it was I really that graduating class, and I'm not gonna say it because that's your business and tell when you want to tell it. That graduating class was so much fun to me because I was also a theater kid, and they were just so chill. And I remember we were doing a play. Was Paganini a musical? No, it was just a play. We're doing a play called Paganini, and I got myself the job of making dead birds because they didn't have any, and I was the only one who figured out how to make them completely by accident. But I did
I'm like, now, how does that acquire that skill?
and I remember we just talked backstage, especially because we had like weekend rehearsals, and our director was she was great, but she was evil. But she was great. She was great, but like she literally would tell you she doesn't care, get your head out of your ass and let's go. She did not care, but loved her. So we would vibe out about Instant Star and every other show on the end, including
Yeah.
and so she brought me a CD, and that just made my whole day when I found out I already knew her. But I wouldn't have known that she was in like the sphere if it wasn't for things like this or things like Black Girl Bookstore, because I would have still looked at your page eventually and found it. So I think things like this and Black Girl Bookstore is really important for increasing the community, which I guess that's the purpose of them.
Absolutely.
Another
That,
thing the
guys,
pandemic
that little encounter totally made my day that day because I was, she was like, "Oh, did you live?" I'm like, I'm thinking like, who wants to know? What's going on here? And then she started telling me the story, and I was like, okay, because so when I got invited for this event, I automatically just followed everybody who's participating because I don't know, that's just the vibe. So, but I didn't like deeply look at anybody's pages. So when she said that, I looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, all these memories start flooding back because we're like the theater geeks. It was a vibe. Like it was weird because where we were, it was like there, in high school, everybody has the cliques or whatever. But because I moved so much, I wasn't like stuck to any one clique, so I knew a little bit of everybody. And she was just always such a vibe, but was always coming through with like the smart, witty little comments here and there. Whereas like if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't have caught it. But if you did have the good sense to catch it, you'd be like, okay, girl, I see you. That was just always the vibe. And I definitely was like in love with Instant Star for no reason and would make anybody that I thought I remotely vibed with a mixed CD.
amazing. Everything.
Yes.
Oh, you do. I did the drink water in my mouth. I did drink water. But no, I love the fact that one thing about the pandemic, whether you were reading or you were just discussing books, it brought us all like so much closer together. I got to know people. Like I'd randomly hop in Coco's DMs because she said something, or she like to me.
And I love it.
I like random people. I'm one of those people who I really will just be like, hey, just to mind your business for a second, and you can tell me to get out. I noticed this, so can I just ask you about it? And I've so far not had anyone tell me, yeah, you can mind your business. By the way, if you ever did, you're allowed to, and I'm completely fine with that because I'm aware that it's not mine. But I just feel like so many people have underestimated for all the bad things. You're right, Danny. The Black book community, the Black women. No offense, Brandon. This is just a moment for me to toot my horn. The Black women in the book community, amazing. The Black community, the Black book community is absolutely fascinating and lit.
Yeah, I really got very close with this group called The Collective. We were all just working on the stamped readathon at the time, and we just bonded. And I bonded with these ladies, and like, I can't even describe me and Nia. That is like my soul sister. Whatever's going on, you can count on Nia. Nia will drop everything. Pages galore is who I'm talking about. And come drive down if you need her to. Rest in peace, KB. KB was so fantastic at giving these like 1 minute. She I think was a part of my spirit as I started doing 1 minute book reviews, but KB was such an amazing spirit. And she passed last year, and that was very difficult for us. And then my girl Millie got married and went to her wedding. So it just feels like I've formed in a time where you were slumping because of the pandemic, and maybe you felt lonely and whatever was going on. These ladies, this book community, very specifically, saved me. It was my self-care. It was the way I survived a very lonely time. And I believe that books could serve that purpose even outside of the pandemic. So I'm almost happy that, people rediscovered reading in a way that could be an outlet for them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Because if you think about it, if you ever meet somebody on the street and you recognize that they've read or are reading a book that you enjoyed or that you can connect with them about, that's an automatic positive experience, really, regardless of how they respond, because you've shared that connection with them, whether they want you to or not, because you've shared that experience of the book. So coming together, I feel like there's no negative way to meet somebody in this space unless you're just really trying for it, because it's like, if I share this experience with you and I just want to talk with you about it, are you ever going to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to you about this book that I love? No, you're not. It's a beautiful space, right? It's a beautiful space to reach out and meet new people. And like what you were saying, Coco, it's the people that you get that tight-knit community with, like my book club, Beats Weird. There's 150 of us, and we're in different countries all over the place, but we share this space and we can rely on each other and come together for all these different things. And we're branching out into all these other experiences, just so that way we can share it with each other, because it's something that we love. So like, yeah, I get what you're saying about like, obviously nobody's happy that the pandemic happened, but some great things of it for sure.
Absolutely, because even I'm in the Black Romance Book Club, and we read Black romance a lot. By the way, there's a lady on Instagram. Her name is Ash Reads Books, and I'm telling you right now, if you don't know about Black romance, that's who you need to go talk to, because
absolutely,
this pandemic, sis, had me in a rabbit hole with an author named Desiree. So people will call it street lit. However, it's literally like, so the area I grew up in is very diverse. It's literally like hood, right? It's the combination of the two, the burbs and the hood. And that's literally what reading her books is. There's the street and then there's college life, and they just mash together. And when I tell you, I found my most predominant toxic bae in that book. And then I had people who, because usually when I tell people I love toxic men in romance, they look at me with slight hints of judgments. I didn't say in my real life. It's just like my fictional life. Let me be great.
Yes.
And in that community, in that book club, who they're with it. Like, we talk about ethic and we talk about how Messiah is toxic bae, and they're here.
Ethic is such a great, like, I don't care what say I like ethic.
Conversation about ethic and why he's not so great. But the book is great. The book is great. I think this is just like a great time to be Black and to be a reader and to be a nerd and to just love all the things. I'm gonna make this disclaimer, and you can fight me. This is my opinion, not the opinion of the Black Rose Book Club. To love all the things that are not Twilight, because Bella Swan absolutely needs to die, and I will stand 10 toes down on that. Got your ancestors, because you're not gonna fight me. But I think it's a great time for all of us to get along and bond and just talk about.
Listen, I forget. I have to think of this. I'm gonna think of this name before I leave. But there was a person who went and did this whole critique on why we need to get away from the chokehold that is Twilight and the sci-fi community. I don't have an opinion. I do have an opinion. I will reserve my opinion for a post. But it talks about how the lore itself is really like Stephanie Meyers like steals the lore of real people to create this storyline. And, you know, how do they benefit from that? I think Stephanie Meyers has since given some donation or something like that. But there's a whole conversation. When I think of her name, I'm going to post it so you guys can follow this person. She gets a great critique on that.
Because I got whole dissertations about my feelings about that book, and I tell people all the time. I even have thoughts and feelings about one of your favorite authors, Coco.
I know.
Because I don't want to cause problems on this here page that's not mine. Because I want the smoke on my page. You can come with it.
Listen, who it is. I know.
Faye porn is.
Who it is, girl.
Everybody's favorite Faye porn writer. That's not mine. Sarah J. Maas.
She's not my favorite Faye. You know what? I will tell you. There's a lot of critique on her, and I agree with almost every piece of critique. It just happens to be the first time I read Faye literature. Like I was reading lots of sci-fi, but not fairy. So she introduced me to a world. So she has a special place. But the critique is right? Like I don't want to give no spoilers away, so I won't tell you what the critique is. But the critique talks a little bit about first representation in the literature. Like where are the Black people? Where are the Black people?
The irony of that, Danny, I never thought about that. In all my arguments, I never thought about that one.
No, that is the argument this person said. I can't think of her name. She talks about how you know, think about if you're living forever and you get to relive any moment, why high school?
Over and over
and
over.
High school is not the time I'm miserable.
Well, I mean, that tells me that they have to be 16 because I don't know, did anyone else have their emo phase? Because I definitely had mine. And to think that I feel really happy for whatever reason when I hear songs that are super emo, like from my emo scene days, I feel really nostalgic, but I wouldn't want to stay in that time frame that I was going through. So why would you choose to just repeat and be miserable? Why?
Yeah. But now I think from a more mature standpoint, you know, there's much better vampire. This post, the post I'm talking about, if I find it, she actually gives better recommendations about where you want to go with it. I don't know if I agree with all her recommendations, but I do want like there are better ones than she suggested. But still, I like where she went with that.
Please send that to me because I actually do need to slide in Bree's DMs too about some fantasy / sci-fi. Rex, because you have a book cover that I want.
Do tell.
Jemison Black Futures cover.
Oh, how long till Black Future Month?
Oh, yeah.
It's a Subterranean Press special edition, and when I tell you, every time I post it, people are like, "Where did you get that?" Like, girl, it was a treat yourself moment. And you're only going to get it if you're buying it from somebody else, and people are not kind with the upsell. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
I believe that. I understand. I will say during this pandemic, is there anything specifically that you guys discovered or found that was new to you?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. So before the pandemic, I could count on my fingers like how many graphic novels I had. Now I have an entire shelf that's all comics and graphic novels. I had barely dipped my toe in it before. And since the pandemic, I made close friends with the good people at Cape and Cow Comics in Oakland and just went down this rabbit hole of give me all of the recommendations you have for women of color in comics. And they are really great with the recs. And then I would just go down these rabbit holes trying to find more stuff. So it was real easy to get sucked into the world of comics and really delve deep about where do I see myself in these stories and just grabbing all of that I can. And now it's a whole thing. There's no escaping it at this point.
Brandon, since you're newer to the fantasy realm anyway, what did you discover? Was there an author you discovered or a genre you discovered that was just it for you? You just knew this was going to be your happy place?
No, yeah, I mean, sorry, was it Bree? Sorry.
No, it was you. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I had being newer to the space. I mean, I had a lot of firsts ultimately. I had I discovered like I said, I mentioned that Jasmine was a new discovery for me, and I realized that she's like one of my favorites. That was the first time that like I read like a run of books through Colson Whitehead. His I like a run, like I read multiple of his works. I did rereads of Home and A Mercy for Toni Morrison, and then I read four more that I hadn't read. Like every, I mean, I guess I discovered that fiction wise, my favorite genre is probably thriller. I just love the pacing. I love action. Like I love a shoot 'em up situation. I love a bar fight. I love like, I love like people you feel you saw or knew around the way going on some like adventure or whatever, and you're like got to keep up the entire time.
Yes.
Specifically, I'm thinking of S.A. Cosby because both Blacktop Wasteland and Raspberry Tears made my tops last year. And I mean, he's just the landscape of being set in Richmond or at least the outskirts of where I grew up, and then having like the male characters be so flawed in a way that is so familiar to me. That was a writer that I loved, but then also There by Tony Orange. Tommy Orange was a new insight into indigenous culture and like a desire to read more indigenous works. So Yellowbird and a few other titles. I went into that. My very first romance was Honey Girl. Romance time. Yeah. Which some people, it was interesting because there was a little library down the street from me, and it was I still don't know what the edition was, but it's like a hardcover. It's a hardcover, and I was like, we only sell the paperbacks here and whatever, so I was like, I didn't know that there was a hardcover of this, but I have it. Yeah, I mean, there again, like, and then even the Bookstagram space was a new thing to me. Like, it's so funny because going back, I always try to amplify Black, but then specifically Black women, just because of the role that they had in my upbringing and nurturing and growth into who I am today. I always try to get back and shout out Black women in general. And so it's interesting, Coco, because like I saw like the stories of that wedding, like you, Nia, Crystal, Cree, like, or if it's right, it's like all y'all. And I was like, damn, I feel like I'm missing a function. Like I feel like I need to be there. Whether I don't know these people from nothing, but like I feel like I'm supposed to be there because they just lit. Yeah. So it's like a lot of new and a lot of first in terms of the book space for me. Kind of all started roundabout back way of 2020 for sure.
Can I tell you though, Brandon, and this is just to mind your business for a second. You can ask me to get back to it. But do you like thrillers just because of the mess? Because I see your shirt says words mean things, and that comes from read. And I like the read. It's a podcast hosted by Crystal and Fury. If y'all don't know, please get into it. It is so entertaining.
Please. That's so good. So good.
Why you like thrillers is because of the mess. Because thrillers are real messy. I like them.
Yeah. I love reality TV. I love the drama. I'm here for a stable, like Coco, stable, peace, solid life, and just sitting with my popcorn, shoes up, and watching all the other shit just go on. You know what I mean? I love it. It's my favorite. So I love those. Yeah.
You're like, I'm not trying to be like you, my boy. But your life is entertaining.
The boundaries are strong over here.
I just wondered, have any of y'all heard of The Read? Because that's another thing that I was binging. I've been listening since, I want to say since they started. Kid Fury used to do a YouTube page.
Yeah.
They used to do Furious Thoughts. You do? Oh, I didn't know.
Honey, I'm like Kid Fury fan back when he used to be sitting in that pink room on that bed, look at the screen.
Exactly.
That was way back then.
Yeah.
Before he was famous. Okay, old school YouTuber.
Okay. Was it just me? But if you haven't not checked them out, let me tell you. The Mess is great. They are readers because they do every once in a while talk about books. And I literally want to email them one day and ask them if they can have like a whole podcast where they talk about books, but
You should.
not my circus, not my monkeys, not my monkeys, not my
When
circus.
they do that, then I'll watch. Because I'm cool on the mess, unless it's like 1,000-year-old vampire mess. I don't care for the mess.
That's fair. 1,000-year-old vampire. You know what? Can I tell
You
you?
talk about somebody having a beef. Vampires be like, I'm 6,000 years old and I still hate that nigga. Like,
I still hate him.
I was just about
You
to
killed my lover. You killed my soulmate lover, and I now will never love you.
yeah.
I will always shoot you down every time I see you. Imagine having a beef for like centuries, where every time you see me, it's on site.
On fire.
Forever to go. Because I did read my first official horror, but it's like gothic horror. The top of this year, I read Anne Rice's The Witching Hour. And I enjoyed it because it was very, growing up, I used to like, I'm a theater kid, like I said before. So I was into everything. So I watched Rigoletto, and it was giving me Rigoletto, Paganini, Vivaldi. It was giving me like all these things. And then there's this demon thing. And I'm not giving spoilers at all. There's a demon. And the demon is literally talking to these women and getting in their lives. And it's funny because one of the characters was like, "Oh, but he can't be the devil because he's so beautiful and he cries." And I'm like, "Okay." And I just want, like, the bad guys don't cry. I'm confused.
Well, that's how you know you're really, when you read a story where the villain or the bad guy has a realistic origin story or a realistic, like, that depth of character is what makes it easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's too he's a bad guy because he's evil, to me, I don't get into those books because there's no logic. At that point, it kind of reminds me of Family Guy when he's chasing the chicken. They don't know why they're fighting. They're just fighting or whatever. I hate books like that. Like, the two tropes I hate is that one and the miscommunication trope in books. I hate those two tropes.
I hate that so much.
Because I just feel like, are you saying they're beefing because they miss each other in the coffee shop? No, I can't get with that.
Are you saying that they're grown adults and they couldn't just sit down and talk about this for like 5
I
seconds?
hate, like, that trope right there is like, those two are the ones. So absolutely.
Oh, see, for me, I like evil guys that are just evil because I love toxic bays. Like, what I'm telling you, I was reading The Carter Boys and Shiloh shot somebody, and that was when I knew that he was the one for me. I was like, oh, my man. Oh, just amazing. Just wonderful. I love it. But I mean, it's nice to have a bad guy with a heart or whatever. But
or at least a story, at least a reason why they're bad.
I agree with Coco on that. I think one of my favorite characters right now is a villain, and it's because her backstory. I was like, I would be a villain too if I was dealing with what she was dealing with. Go ahead. It's tough. I'm talking about the Greenbone saga. And the villain is Ait Madashi. And when I tell you she's a stone cold gangster, but her circumstances, it's like you low-key were rooting for her to come out on top in the end just because it's a woman and she like took charge of the situation and she was like, to hell with what they're talking about. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well and better than everybody else. It's a flame. It's a flame story. And you probably like it too, Brandon, because it's like, it's just on the cusp of enough magic to be dope, but it's really like a Japanese mafia style type of story. Get into it.
Ooh, yeah. I love that. You had me a mafia.
I told you, I knew it. I was just minding your business. I'll say when it comes to tropes, I'm more like in tune, I think, with what I like. It was amazing because last year, even though I didn't meet my Goodreads goal and I didn't know about Storygraph until this year, it was interesting because I wasn't, like, when I first started reading again, I used YouTube, like BookTube. People like Oshale, when she was talking about books regularly, Melanated Reader, Melanin Eclectic. And it wasn't just them two, obviously, because if you look at the books that I bought back in 2016, you would realize I really didn't know what I liked, because whatever the girls were talking about, Thank you. Same. I don't want to be too. I'm not even gonna tell y'all all the things because yikes. I had Outcrate. Outcrate is great for the stuff, but I never found a book in any of the Outcrates that I just was like, oh, this is for me. And last year was just the time where I literally only picked up what I wanted to read, or what if Melanated Reader or Pages Galore, Cocoa Chasing Adventures picked it. Cree Miles on some things, but it was other things because Cree Miles reads like an academic and she loves to tell people she's not an academic.
Mm-hmm.
And when they recommend things, I read those. Outside of that, let me tell you something. If I don't want to read it, I'm not touching it. If I don't see the cover, because I've literally just been doing this thing where I refuse to read synopses. I just see the cover. I'm like, oh, pretty, bye. And whatever consequences are on me. So I think that was the first year, and I'm continuing it this year, where I only read what I want to read, and I discovered so many things. So how did you figure out, or how did the pandemic allow you to like hone in your reading and hone in what you wanted to read and what you preferred to read? I finished it. You can hit me up. I finished it, Shelly. You can message me.
I only read what feels good. I don't get into someone telling me that I should like or not like something, or like, even though I kind of made a joke earlier about Brie not being Toni Morrison, but I understand why, right? Like if you are not into that genre, but I don't feel, and actually, Book Girl Magic Renee, that was one of the reasons why her platform was such an amazing, very viral platform, because she said, hey, this Bookstagram page is for the girls who like to read, but they're just getting back into reading, or they want to read things that feel good and they don't want to feel guilty because they've never read a Toni Morrison book or whatever. So I read things that feel good, and I think my page reflects a lot of diversity for that reason.
Right. What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, sorry, I got a small distraction. What was the question again?
I was asking if this whole pandemic helped you hone in on what you prefer to read versus what you dislike, and like now you have a set go-to where you know this is what I like and this is what I don't.
Got you. Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, I had a strong. I mean, I knew that I liked nonfiction because I've always enjoyed just learning in general, especially learning about what one could consider themselves through like the history of like our people, of our country, the like, or what have you. So, I mean, it definitely just solidified that, and because I got to like kind of dive more into like the kind of lit that is accessible, what I want to read more, what, I just find doing a deeper dive on like that passion that I knew was already there. I don't think that I could say that I found a genre that I don't like. Like one thing about music I always say is that every artist has one song, at least with me. So every genre has had at least one book. Every genre that I've taken a dive into has had at least one book where I'm just like, because even look around the store, it's like my least shopped section is probably the science and nature. But like, there's this book on dinosaurs that I would love to have. There's this book on peacocks I would love to have. There's this book on like so many, just things that I love in some way, shape, or form. So across the board, one thing that surprised me was actually getting more into poetry, because I wasn't expecting to get more into poetry. Because back in the day, it was like, what are y'all saying? Y'all ain't saying nothing, but y'all trying to say something and this, that, and the third, whatever. But then like, I got into, I think the first was Rupi's book, Homebody. That was the first one that I like actually picked up, and it just hit. I was like, damn. And then a Baltimore-based friend of a friend did an independent publishing, and on a support level, I was like, oh, let me read that and get into that or whatever. But then it was like legitimately good, and so then I like went on into it more into poetry, and like Homie is so great. Vanez just really knocked that out the park for me. Rudy Francisco, I'll Fly Away, both Helium and I'll Fly Away, but Kalisa Reyes, Ghost in the Black Girl's Throat. I've just really been having a great time exploring poetry. as an all, and that really was a shocker, I would say, to me. But yeah, I don't think I'm well read enough at this point to be able to say I'll pass on this yet. But I definitely reinforced the love for nonfiction and found a new, true, genuine interest in poetry for sure.
Thank you. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making time for little old me today. Thank you to the ladies of the Black Prose Club for hosting Black Book Summit once again. We greatly appreciate you. Brittany, I appreciate you for not making yourself do all the things. Um, Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Brandon. I am Isata of Dear Be Love Me, and the ladies are gonna pop back in.
All right, there we go.
I was muted in that compliment. I'm sorry.
I was so into the discussion, and we so hate to wrap things up because I think that things were going in a really good direction. But I want to give everybody an opportunity to plug what they're doing, their page, if there's anything coming up that they would like your support. And we can go ahead and start with Brandon.
Thank y'all for letting me be here today. I had a great time talking to y'all. Bookstagram related things I'm doing. I like stories because they're really temporary or whatever, and because I love a surprise or whatever. And me and my friends, we love to use the word function when there's like a gathering of Black people. So for Black History Month, I've been celebrating the 28-day function. So every day I'm in the stories giving out a trivia based situation on like entertainment, books, music, food, history, and just trivia. Sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't know about this, and I want to learn more, so I share what I learned. Some of it is like cultural, like there was a truly people were in my DMs because I put up there which one is better, and then it was the mac and cheese question: is it baked or is it like a sauce-based mac and cheese? And people was in my people. That was a little chaotic because people was like, "How could you do this?" Huh?
What was the score?
What was the score?
It was that one was I think baked one for sure. But here's the thing: it wasn't so obvious. It really wasn't a landslide. It was like maybe like 58% or whatever. And then just the other day, I did red velvet cake versus carrot cake. And I thought, for me, it's carrot cake, hands down, no contest, no argument. But it was so close.
Tomatoes.
Listen.
No.
No. Listen, I'll let y'all argue with the ancestors on that one, okay? But yeah, no. But overall, I just try to always have a good time and bring the joy around for our people because I love it when we're happy and when we're having a good time. So I'll be back around. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, we have so enjoyed having you, and I will let you go next, Coco.
Okay, well, on Coco Chasing Adventures, my blog is mostly about books, again, that bring me joy. I focus on self-care, reading as a form of self-care, and I try to highlight brands and businesses that support those causes. So if you're a brand or a business and you're interested in showcasing that, let me know. My newest thing for this year is every Sunday you'll see me post a 1-minute book review on what I'm reading, and tomorrow is my turn on the Bookstator, so check me out there. I have a smaller blog which is relatively new. It's Black Mom in the Burbs. You can follow me there for just my lived experience as a Black suburban mom raising a Black son in a space where he's not the majority. So just documenting, again, that's one of my hobbies this year, documenting my lived experiences.
Amazing. We greatly appreciate having you today. And Bree, I will go with you next.
Yes, I'm Bree's Bookish on Instagram. I am all about the chill vibes. There's no clear guidance about my page. It's just all vibes and whatever I like. I I love promoting sci-fi and fantasy by authors of color and women of color in comics. So that's the majority of what my page is. I started my own book club, Be Too Weird, which is centered around promoting QT BIPOC authors of sci-fi fantasy books. We have a weekly. We have a monthly book that everyone in the book club votes towards. We meet weekly via Zoom to chat. There's no like stress or pressure about it. You come when you can and you don't when you don't want to. We also have a rotating sequence of books that we're voting for as well that go between smut, backlist, graphic, and romance titles. So there's something for everyone in that space. We have a dedicated Discord, so that way if you can't make the Zooms or if you're not comfortable being on Zoom, you can chat there. It's just a beautiful space for like-minded weirdos to enjoy sci-fi and fantasy, and obviously we're branching into other things as well. So you can DM me if you'd like to participate in that. And we also are now doing book tours as well. So you can sign up for those and get free advanced reader copies in exchange for an honest review or a post on your page.
Amazing. That is so great. And we're so happy that you were able to join us today. And Isita, of course.
I am Isita. I have a page called Dear Bee Love Me, in which I write letters to Bee. You have to read the letter to discover which Bee I'm talking to, whether it's me, whether it's my Beverly, the queen of romance, or whether it's to my book buddies. It's basically reflections mixed with reviews. I also review books by Black or culturally diverse authors. I do push culturally reading. I think it's very important because the more you read diversity within cultures outside of your own, the more you learn connections with other people, the easier it is for you to move through life and the easier it is for you to understand where people are in life and how you have conversations with them. I do reels and I also do author interviews. Be out for a versus coming soon to an Instagram near you, where we will be getting into it. Jerry, we might need you. Getting into it about Octavia Butler's Kindred. I am also hosting a read along in August, my first ever, about the Queen Beverly herself. So if you are an author and you're interested in me reviewing your book, I take hard copies only, just so you know. I don't do copies.
Know your worth, sis. Know your worth.
Period.
Also, I am an advocate for all things Black. This sweater is by Noyan Love, author. This sticker here, I was already here. This sticker here is by Melanin Eclectic. I've been just so you know. So I am your plug. Thank you.
Y'all are all my plug. I never have to market myself. Y'all are my plug.
So I just want to say we are going to wrap things up, Brittany and I, with some announcements and things like that. But we are going to let our lovely panelists and our moderator go. We are so incredibly grateful that you all decided to join us this year for our Black Book Summit year 2. And don't be surprised if you see them back on Black Prose very soon. They are incredible human beings, and we are very happy that we had this opportunity to connect with them for this.
Also, don't forget, we are coming back again with next week, and we will be discussing our book content creators, actually real reviewers.
Yes.
So we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Don't forget, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We are introducing you to all the panelists as well as the moderator for next week's panel. And also, it's a great place to just stay connected with us, what we're up to, what we're doing. We also have a Twitter. You can follow us there as well. We're not as active on Twitter. And then I believe that we also have our personal handles in our Instagram page if you want to support us separately. And that's it for today's panel. It went so well. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Saturday at 2 p.m. for panel number 2.
Bye.
Bye.